Welcome.
Hello.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Okay, let's get started.
We do usually do this workshop at Sukkot, so everybody can have their calendar. You know, if there's vacations or whatever, people can work around Yah's calendar because it's way more important than ours. Now, the interesting thing about I sort of went over it last night. I hadn't even done it myself, but it appears to me something very interesting is happening this next year in 2021 on the Roman calendar. Okay, we're using the Roman calendar as a template. Don't anybody get upset about that. But in 2018, the covenant calendar followed the calendar that Moses was using, where we had Passover on a Tuesday. In 2019, the calendar that we were using was the one where Yahusha's Passover was on a Wednesday. Now this year, I think we had our Passover on a Thursday or whatever it was. This calendar here, I am pretty sure is going to be the one that Joshua was on, and we have done a lot of teachings on Joshua already about his particular calendar year there in Joshua 3, 4, and 5 brings forth a lot of truth about how to detect counterfeits and errors in a lot of calendars. So let's go through this and see if indeed this kind of lines up with Joshua's calendar. So we want to learn how to build the calendar for ourselves, and it's not very hard. But if people don't know where to start, then it's kind of tricky. So here's the information. Have your calendars in front of you. For 2021, and this is from the internet, the March equinox, or Tekufa, in Universal Coordinated Time, or UTC, is on Saturday, March the 20th, at 9:37 in the morning UTC. This is, I'm going to show you some charts about this so that you can understand what's happening with this UTC. But what is it? What is it when the Tekufa happens? Well, in short, it's when the sun crosses the equator. There is something special that happens. So the March equinox, or Tekufa, marks the moment that the sun crosses the celestial equator. This is an imaginary line, basically, of the Mazzaroth above the Earth's surface. When the sun's ecliptic path crosses over, just like this, over this celestial equator, that is when the sun is rising direct east and sets directly west. This happens on one day in the spring, and it happens at one day in the fall. But for the spring Tekufa, this event is going to happen on either March 19th, 20th, or 21st. It will be one of those 3 days every year. And it depends. Why there's a leeway there is for a couple of reasons. First of all, the leap year is going to change it. We had a leap year this year, and it changed it one whole day. Also, because our sun's route through the Mazzaroth is approximately 365 1/4 days. That means that quarter of a day each year sometimes makes the date jump from the 19th to the 20th, and then it'll jump from the 20th to the 21st. And then when you have a leap year, it kind of jumps back. So that's why we have March 19, 20, or 21 where this happens. This is not to be confused with the equilux. This is equinox. Equilux is what some are saying is equal day and equal night. But that's not exactly what happens. Equilux is basically what some are saying is that if sunrise is at 6:15 in the morning, sunset is at 6:15 at night. Now, we've done a teaching on that already. Equilux is usually around March the 17th. Okay, that is not the same as equinox. Equilux doesn't have anything to do with Yah's covenant calendar. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at some different time zones, and I just chose some,
Got it. Wait a minute.
about 12 of them, where we have Covenant Calendar members from around the world that are basically in these time zones, so that'll help you out a little bit. So Pacific time zone, that's us here in BC and on the western coast of North America. Mountain, we'll have this on the next one. There's a Central Standard Time and Central Daylight Time. Some time zones never ever change to daylight time, and that makes a difference in calculating calendars, so you have to know that. Eastern Time, Atlantic Time, those are the time zones that mostly cover North America and, of course, South America. United Kingdom is the area where you have this universal coordinated time marker. And then Germany, we have several from Germany, Scotland, in that area. Israel and South Africa are basically in the same time zone. India, West Australia, and New Zealand. So those are some of the ones that we'll be looking at today. So what is UTC time, Universal Coordinated Time? I will have this up here, this equinox, so that you can be sure that you can mark it on your calendars. Universal Coordinated Time is right here with this green arrow. This batch right here, this time zone right here, is basically 0. You can see down at the very bottom, it says -0 right there. That means this is where everything counts. Anything west of this marker, the time zones are going to get earlier and earlier. Anything that is east is going to be later and later. So basically, if this is 12 noon right here, and we can say United Kingdom, okay, if this is 12 noon, then the next time zone to the east is going to be 1 o'clock. And then the next one will be 2 o'clock. And the next one will be 3 o'clock. You can see the 1, 2, 3 down here. So by the time we get to Australia, where Neil is at, if it's noon in the United Kingdom, it's going to be 8 o'clock in the evening in Western Australia. And by the time you get to New Zealand, way over here, it's actually 11 o'clock in the evening at night, 11 o'clock at night. When you go the other direction, if this is noon, high noon, here in this UTC time zone, as you go west, you have to minus. So it would be 11 o'clock. You can follow me. Help me not to make a mistake here. 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock here in the Atlantic. It would be 6 o'clock in the central, or am I getting mixed up already? Anyway, this area right here as central. There's an area here in Saskatchewan that doesn't do time zones, so that would be 7 o'clock and then 8 o'clock in the morning, okay? Anyway, we're going to look at that. So just so that you know how these time zones work. We can take some questions. If there's anything on this, is there any confusion here? You can have the PowerPoints later to look at, but does anybody have a problem with understanding how these time zones work? Just before we move on.
Did you mention what the striped ones mean? Because when you came to Manitoba there, you said that they didn't keep time zones. So you just, to correct that, you mean they don't keep daylight savings time.
Daylight. Yeah, if I said time zones, that's right. Everybody has a time zone. But right down here at the bottom where you see the 0, where your high noon is 0 basically, where it has this shading, it says these areas do not observe daylight time. So it's basically the area of Saskatchewan in Canada that never changes to daylight time. Well, they're always on daylight time. I think they never switch back to normal time. So you can see there's a lot of areas in the southern hemisphere. See all these areas that have these stripes? They do not use daylight time. It's mostly the northern, you can see that mostly the northern countries where we have a very limited amount of sun, especially in the winter, but in the summer, it just extends it to give us daylight an extra hour in the summer, which is really nice. So, and there are also areas on the map that have partial time zones. They've indicated here. I didn't pay too much attention to that. That's a good question, a good comment there, Jeanette. Is there anybody else before we move on? Because I'm not coming back to this slide in this presentation.
It might be worth.
Saskatchewan does not keep daylight savings time.
Actually,
yeah, I guess
I
that
think
was
it's the other
Saskatchewan,
way
not
around.
Manitoba.
Yeah, actually, it's the other way around. They moved to daylight time many decades ago, and they never ever went back. They are on daylight time all year round, every single year. They don't do the switching back and forth, is the way that I understand it. So it's a big farming community, and they have their longer hours of daylight all through the year, which is kind of nice in the winter time. Okay.
And might
So,
just be worth
Vivian, that's a
mentioning
good
that
question.
Arizona, just worth pointing out, Arizona is the only one in the
Yes.
States. It's hiding in there, but it's good to remember that.
Yep. Yes, and if we all remember when Mario was trying to, help us with with Calendar Club and whatnot, it was always a nuisance in the spring and the fall because Arizona was always different. It was, yeah, real trouble for him. But Arizona doesn't change as well. Now, I don't know if they stay on daylight time or if they just stay on the normal time zone, but they don't switch their times. Good questions. But you can see most of the countries that are below the equator, basically the equator is going to be kind of around, kind of chops off the top part of Africa, kind of around Florida there. That's kind of where the equator line is. Most of these countries below the equator don't go on daylight time. Now, Israel, I do want to say something about Israel. We're not going to make mention of it after this. They do not change to daylight time until after the equinox. Now, that's really important for the festal calendar. They have a reason. So while the rest of the world will change, to daylight time, sometimes around March the 3rd, something like that, they wait until after the equinox and then they change to daylight time. And that is for calendar significance. We're not going to deal with that today, but just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. This is where each of you come in. I've given here the time zones that we're going to be looking at. I hope I included everybody on Calendar Club. I don't think I missed any time zones. Here we have United Kingdom in red, March the 20th next year. Equinox time, that very moment, is 9:37 in the morning, okay? 9:37 in the morning next year. As we look at Germany, that is going to be 10:37 for them. Israel and South Africa, it's 11:37 in the morning. India is around 3:07. They have a half an hour delay there in most of India. West Australia, it's already 5:37 in the afternoon for them. Did I say mornings over here? I think we've got this wrong. No. Israel and South Africa are in the morning, and then by the time you get to India, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. West Australia is 5:37 in the afternoon, and New Zealand is already 10:37 at night, at 10:37 p.m. Going west of the United Kingdom, the Maritimes, the Atlantic time zone, is at 6:37 in the morning. Now, while I'm going through these times, I want you to be thinking about when would the twilight be, and I don't think I had time to put the twilight times in here, but twilight makes a difference as well. So 6:37 in the morning. Then the Eastern time zones, that would be Ontario and Quebec, it's 5:37 in the morning for them. And for the Central time zone like Manitoba, it's 4:37 in the morning. Now, do you think that they would have a twilight at this time? Okay, I'm pretty sure I did not go and take a look. Saskatchewan is 3:37 in the morning, and so is Mountain Time. Mountain Time is going to be the same as Central because Central, Saskatchewan doesn't change, okay? So Mountain Time next year, for all of those in that Mountain Time zone, the equinox is 3:37 in the morning, and Pacific Time, there's a few of us over here on the West Coast, 2:37 in the morning. Now, I didn't put in Alaska. Alaska would be 1:37 in the morning. Now, this is on the Roman calendar, and it is Roman timing of the day, which means that when the clock strikes midnight, Rome changes the day from the 19th to the 20th. But on Yah's covenant calendar, we don't change the date of the 19th until we get to the twilight, the Boker, okay? So we need to remember, this is kind of a tricky calendar this year, so we're just going to give our best guesstimate. Like I have a note here, the trickiest part of this project is to pinpoint which day the shadow will be observed as a straight line or as no shadow, and that depends on what measuring device that you are using. So we're not going to talk about different measuring devices today, but there are at least two. So pinpointing the day that actually shows the shadow, and that's the part that we're still trying to work out. So the question here is for United Kingdom, when their equinox moment happens at 9:37. This is the equinox moment where the sun's ecliptic path crisscrosses the celestial equator. But the whole equinox event happens within a full 24-hour period as the sun moves closer and closer and closer to that crossbar, crossing that, and then it moves away. So we're looking at a full 24-hour period. But this, the way I understand it, 9:37 is the point where the sun actually, it intersects that angle there, okay? So here's the question. Is this the day that the United Kingdom sees the shadow? Because it's definitely light for them at this point in time. So they can be watching it. But for us over here in Pacific and Mountain Time, where it's clear, pitch dark, we can't see anything. So we need to wait until we have sun in the sky to cast a shadow. We need to wait. But it's still March the 20th. It's still March the 20th because we're going to cross the Boker, which will move the covenant calendar into Boker time of the 20th of March. Is there any questions about that? That's the trickiest part right there.
Charlene,
Well,
Johnny
okay,
has
write your
his hand-
questions.
Charlene, Johnny has his hand up.
Yes. Yes.
I was just going to mention, Charlene, with Mountain Time there, we should be at 2:30 because we're 7 hours from UTC.
Yes.
2:30?
And then 1:30 for you in BC.
Okay, well, it could be, I took these times off the internet. I should have checked them. Oh, okay, so Johnny, after we're done, we'll come back and correct it so it's right for next week, okay? Can you remind me about that?
Okay.
Yeah, slide number 4. I just took the times off the internet, and who knows. Anyway, I did this so quickly yesterday, there's bound to be a couple of oopses, but that's okay, everybody, because when you go to work with this stuff, it is a little bit tricky, and you should all build your own PowerPoint. But when you do it in just a couple of hours, there's bound to be some goofs, so that'll keep you on your toes. Okay, so there are some points to consider about this equinox shadow, and we're going to use, I sort of explained it a little bit already, but I'm just going to use equinox time for Pacific time zone right now, and just try to follow me on this, okay? So some points that we want to consider is we have to remember equinox is on March the 20th, 2:37 a.m. This is Roman time. That's what we're using for Pacific time zone, okay? In covenant calendar, the date is still March the 19th until you have the Boker twilight. That's when the 19th changes to the 20th for the covenant calendar. So the Vancouver Boker I did look up that. The Vancouver Boker occurs at 5:26 in the morning. So that's where, in the Pacific time zone, that's where we would change our calendar date of the 19th over to the 20th. I didn't go look up all the Boker times for each of the 12 that are listed there, just for Pacific, just as an example. So the question was the shadow seen on the Roman calendar of March 19th, the day before? Or is the Pacific time zone going to be watching the shadow on March the 20th when it changed to the Boker changed to March the 20th? So that's the question, okay? Or will the shadow be seen on the 20th? So which one was it? And if we're not watching our shadows and we don't have our sundial set up, we won't know the answer. And I don't. I have not had time to do this, and I have not got a spot to do this. I'm depending, I think Tim is too, depending on some other people watching these shadows, you know, helping us to get this part figured out. So a consideration, point number 6, at this point, all we can attempt is a good guesstimate until we can actually observe the shadow. So the equinox time that's listed on the internet is really, like Daisy said, is just a good educated guess. According to the movements of the heavenly bodies, they can time everything, you know, right almost down to the second, I think, or maybe a millisecond, but it's still a good guess until it actually happens. Now, why do we say that? Because we know that one of these years, Yah is going to change things on the calendar. One of these years, there isn't going to be any waiting 5 days, you know, after the 360th day. So we're just going to use this as a good guesstimate right now. We're going to mark our calendars, and so we have a starting place.
Charlene?
If the shadow was, yes, Tim?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize points 2 and 3. All this about the time zones is man-made time zones, but the ultimate reckoning, the ultimate and finale reckoning of when the dates are set is by the twilight, by the Boker morning. That is the final reckoning. That is Yahuwah's final word, and we're just trying to align ourselves with man's reckoning with this so that we know where we're at. So points 2 and 3 are extremely important. That's all.
Absolutely. Yes, the international dateline and this UTC, this was all put in place, and if I remember correctly, around the 1800s, and it was, these time zones were basically put in place for the economic and the business world, okay, so that there was a way to communicate with people at different times. So the international dateline just basically goes through the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You know, it's just kind of, there's really nothing there. So that's where they start, you know, that's where everything starts, is the international dateline. And then 12 hours later, you have the UTC that's at the United Kingdom, kind of probably the middle of the line for the economic world. So it is really important to remember that those time zones are all man-made. Abraham didn't have them. He just watched the light. That's all he did, and he counted. So that's important to remember as well. So we're just going to use a good guesstimate, and the reason that we're doing this is because we're wanting to watch the shadows next year, and we want to be sure that the shadow is going to show us exactly what we need to do. Okay, this is slide number 6. I still have up there equinox shadow, according to the website, is March 20th. That means that the next day is the first day of the year, March the 21st. Now, there have been a lot of questions about this. At this point in time, we are staying with this concept. Just like the moon people that follow their moon to figure out which is the first day of the month, those that are following the sliver moon, they watch for the sliver moon at the sunset. That's where it shows up there, crescent moon. And then which is the first day of the month? It's the next day. It's the next day. So the concept is the same, whether you're using covenant calendar or the moon calendar. There are lots of people that like to say, well, shouldn't the day of the equinox shadow be the first day of the year? Well, it sounds like it makes sense, but you really can't tell where your first day is going to be until you actually, then you have to wait for that shadow, for that marker. So years ago, we said, no, there has to be a sign. You have to see a sign, and then you know that the next day is the first day of the new year. Now, we have not proven that yet. That will be proven most likely in the Passion Studies of Yahusha's ministry, in that Passion Study. Right, Tim? We're expecting for Yahusha's calendar in the Gospels to prove these things that we're seeing are logical and fit the concepts of the Torah calendar. Do you have any comments about that, Tim?
No, I'm in full agreement with you. And from what I have seen so far, Yahusha's calendar or Yahusha's Passion Week fulfills all these rules and regulations that we go by.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And now just a couple of weeks ago, I had a calendar student that is checking out different calendars. And I had talked to him quite a few months ago, many months ago, and he wanted to know which day, how can you prove which day is the first day of Yah's new calendar year? And he thought it had something to do with the flood, and I gave him some pointers and whatnot. But he came back with a study on Noah's flood, and he determined by that study, and he put a lot of work into it. He said, now I know for sure that the day of the shadow or the equinox or the Tegufa is the first day of the year according to Noah's flood account. And he did put a lot of work into it. I have to give him a lot of credit. But the question was that I sent back to him is, Benjamin, is this going to align with the gospel covenant calendar of Yahusha? That's where the rubber meets the road. Because at this point, we're not seeing that. We're seeing that it's the next day. You have to have the shadow and the next day. So it's going to be Yah's calendar. It's going to be the one that pulls everything together. Now, there's a couple of more points to consider.
Charlene?
We don't have a lot of slides, by the way. Yes.
Yes, I have laid out the years 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31, according to the covenant calendar. And all those years, when I use the day after the Tegufa as the first day of the year, through all those years, it lines up to the Passion Week with Yahusha dying in AD 31 with an exactness like you would not believe. It cannot be the day of the Tegufa. Otherwise, there would be no alignment. And this is 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31, all aligning with using the same rule.
Yes, that's really exciting. And those studies are coming, everybody. They really are. But I do have to hand it to people that are looking at, Noah's flood, etc., these other ones. And honestly, it just looks like it's so good. It's so sure. It just like it's so tight. But you have to compare it to everything else. So that's where the work comes in. So I passed the assignment back to Ben, and I haven't heard from him. But anyway, 2021 is a very tricky year for calculating the covenant calendar for those in the northern hemisphere that are west of this universal time zone, or the United Kingdom, west of there, because the equinox time of occurrence happens to be during the darkest part of the night season. So it's trickier for us. It seems trickier for us, but it doesn't have to be that way. But I just want to bring this to your attention. We're sort of the time zones that always have to deal with the leftovers, right? Or whatever. It's just a little trickier. So we're going to build the covenant calendar the very best way that we can. And then what we have to do is we need to check the shadow in the spring. And it could be that we need to adjust the calendar one day. I don't think it would be more than one day. So point number 3, if the shadow is seen on March the 20th, then indeed March the 21st is the first day of the new year. That's what we've been saying. But point number 4, if the shadow is either a day before or a day later, then we're going to have to adjust covenant calendar accordingly. And because Passover isn't until 14 days later, we have a little bit of leeway, and we need to be willing to do that, okay? At this point in time, we have to be willing to make these adjustments. For the purpose of this exercise, we are going to go with our best supposition that March 20th is the Tekufa and March 21st is the first day of the new year. So that's what we're going to work with. We're not going to work with the one before and the one after. We're just going to stay with the one. Now, the reason that I'm saying this is because there have been people that have been watching the shadows. We've had a lot of reports from people over the last 3 to 4 years, and there's something funny going on with the shadow. The last 2 years, we had reports somewhere 3 or 4 different days apart. And so I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's chemtrails that are causing a problem for the shadow. I don't know. Some are saying that there's a second solar disk in the sky that's causing problems. I don't know what's going on, but not everybody's observations are coming up the same. Australia is having something very different than what we're having up here in North America. As Chile, there's a gentleman in Chile that's been watching, and there's also another gentleman down in the Florida area, and the shadows are not lining up like we are expecting them to. So we need to kind of have a little bit of fluidity here and a little bit of leeway. But at the very bottom of this slide is a really important note. This is what you need to take note of. Every time zone has the Tekufa in one 24-hour period. It's not going to be spread over 2 or 3 or 4 days. The whole world, whatever day that's going to be, the whole world gets this Tekufa marker within one 24-hour bundle of time. So it's not that Australia gets their Tekufa, and a day and a half we get it. It's within a one 24-hour bundle. So that's really important. And like I said, we only have 19 slides, but I think the last 2 aren't teaching slides. So we don't have a lot of slides to go through. Okay, let's build Yahuwah's covenant calendar. You've all got your calendars there. Mark March the 20th. Next year, it's going to be on a Shabbat. That is the day of the Tekufa. And then the very next day is the first day of the first month. Some call it Abib, but let's just say the first month. March the 21st is the first day of the first month. And usually on the Roman calendar, it's marked as the first day of spring. So you know what? They'll have that part right. I'll just give everybody a moment to mark their calendar. March the 20th is equinox. You might want to put a circle around it, or put E for equinox or T for Tekufa. And then March 21. Make sure you mark that as the first day of your months, because we're going to be marking first day of the months. So mark it in a special way, however you're going to do it, so you can find the first day of our months. I'm going to go forward to the next slide, and if anybody needs more time, just open your mic and say, let's go back, and I will. So let's go to slide number 8. The very first feast is Passover. The very first festival is Passover. Very easy to find. You have your first day of the first month, and all you do is count 14 days. So from March 21, day number 1, you count 14 days to Passover. And I'm going to wait for someone to tell me what they believe is Passover next year, what date it's going to be.
April 3rd.
Don't.
Oh.
April 3rd is the first suggestion.
Oh,
Is that correct,
wrong.
everybody? Are we all in agreement?
April 4th.
Oh, I counted wrong.
April 4th.
I was agreeing with April 3rd.
We all have to be on the same.
April
Okay,
6.
okay, we've had April 3 and April 4. And guess what, everybody?
April 6.
This is where we have to learn to count and
14 days. I believe it's
okay,
April
everybody,
6.
March 21. March
If you count
April
from
6.
day one,
March 21.
The first day.
Ermi, help us count.
well,
Help us count out the days.
I try to, if I
Oh, I
include,
change March
if I
4.
include 21 as the first day, then I come up with the fourth, 14 days later, the fourth.
April 4th. I
But
changed
it
mine.
depends on when the day starts, probably. I don't know.
Okay, just let me say something here. When we first started out teaching calendar, we told everybody we have to learn how to count, and we have to learn how to count to 3. And somebody at the panel took offense to that. But you know what? It's true. We have to learn to count. And counting 1 to 7, 1 to 14, 1 to 30, 1 to 50, 1 to 12. These are just simple counting things that everybody learns in grades 1, 2, and 3. But Tim and I have found out that sometimes it's a little trickier than what we thought. So, okay, everybody, March the 21st is the first day. March 22 is the second day. The 23rd is the third day. And by the time you get to March 27th, you're at the 7th day of your count to Passover. March 28th is the 8th day. And keep counting till you get to 14. Where does 14 land? The 14th day.
April 3rd.
3rd.
Okay, I'm hearing April 3. Do we have a unanimous on this, or is it April 4?
3.
April 3rd.
April.
Okay. Okay. Remember what I told you at the beginning of this presentation? Who was on this calendar? Who was on this calendar where Passover landed on Shabbat?
Joshua.
You say Joshua.
Yes, Joshua.
That's
Yahusha.
right. And Joshua, yes, Joshua had some tricky things. He had to sort out some of this tricky stuff. Okay, so if you remember the Joshua studies, you'll have a lot easier. Okay, so everybody's got Passover on April the 3rd. All right, let's go to the next part. This is the spring feast. There are 3 things to remember in the spring feast. It's Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, and Wave Sheaf. So the next one is unleavened bread. Point number 1, the first Feast of Unleavened Bread Sabbath, or Shabbat, is on the 15th day of the first month. So what day is that?
April 4.
4th.
April 4th.
April 4th. And it's Sunday, or the first day of the week. I'm going to be using Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I think it's going to help here. It's a Sunday, okay? But this feast is 7 days long. So point number 2, remember that this is a feast of unleavened bread. It's 7 days long. So now you need to mark the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread on the 21st day of the first month on the covenant calendar. So you're at April the 4th as the first day of unleavened bread. You need to cast day of unleavened bread. And it is a Shabbat, a feast Shabbat. Anybody is going to speak up and tell us where they came to?
April 10th.
the 10th. It'll be the 10th. It'll be the 10th
April 10th.
on
So
a Shabbat.
that's what I had. If everybody,
Ernie?
if there's anybody that doesn't agree, yes?
Well, so I'd like to ask, when is Wave Sheaf Day?
April 4th.
Oh, wait, Tim, just wait. We're doing that next slide. Please don't confuse them yet. We're going to do that next. But we got to do the easy stuff first. And Tim, you better pay attention because you're teaching next Friday night. But that is the most important question on this calendar, okay, is what Tim's talking about. So is anybody finding that April 10th is not correct according to their count? Is there anybody? No? Okay. I'll give you all an A+. April the 10th is the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread Sabbath, and it does land on the weekly Sabbath. Okay? So 2 feast Sabbaths in unleavened bread. So let's go to slide number 10. And this is the favorite one of Tim and the favorite one of Joshua, the Feast of Wave Sheaf. This is so important. Okay, I'm going to ask Ermi, would you read the first point on this slide? Just very slowly and carefully. Just read it to us.
The wave sheaf is always marked as the day following the weekly Shabbat within the week of the Passover festival. That's the first one. And then the next one.
Okay, Ermi, can you explain that to everybody? What do they have to do?
So let's try that. The wave sheaf is always marked as the day following the weekly Shabbat within the week of the Passover festival. So if the Passover starts on April 3rd, and that's a Shabbat.
Yeah.
So, and we are in the Passover week till the 10th of April. That's also a Shabbat. So within this week, it's Passover starts during the day. Am I right? Or only in the evening? No.
Yeah, Passover starts Boker of April 3rd in the morning, and the Passover week is Boker of April 3rd all the way up till Boker of the 11th when it ends, right? Okay,
right.
On the Roman calendar. So from 3rd to the 10th. So that's your Passover. This is tricky, everybody.
Yes, because if we start Passover on the Shabbat of the 3rd, then it cannot be the wave sheaf at the same time, because the wave sheaf has to be in the week during the Passover. And if that's, well.
Now, read, okay, Ermi, just a second. Read point number 1 again. Read point number 1 again, just very carefully. Read it out loud.
Wave sheaf is always marked as the day following the weekly Shabbat within the week of the Passover festival. Oh, the whole Passover. So then it's the same day. It's like the 3rd would become the 3rd. Also as the wave sheaf.
Wave sheaf follows a Shabbat. It follows. It says it follows the weekly Shabbat.
Can you connect that with first fruits?
Yeah, that is first fruits, yes.
Okay.
First fruits is on the 4th.
Well,
first fruits
on Sabbath, and the next day was he went up and come back, and he was first fruits.
That's right. That's right.
I remember when Joshua was at the same day, so that's what I remember. Like they would start.
That's the only way I'll remember it.
It was a wave sheaf, but now it's.
That key word, the key word that Charlene has emphasized is within.
Within, yes.
The wave sheaf must be within the 7-day festival of unleavened bread. It must be within, and we take that by Joshua's example.
Right.
So if the wave sheaf follows the 7th day Sabbath, can it be on the 11th? Is the 11th inside of the festival of unleavened bread, or is it outside of the festival?
That's outside.
So can it be on the 11th?
No.
You're correct.
No.
I got it now because Wave Sheaf is always on a Sunday, right? So it's on the 4th, of course. Now I got it.
Very good.
Okay. This is probably the trickiest one to figure out. This one is the trickiest one. Now, the reason that Tim emphasized that is because a lot of the Dead Sea calendars, Enoch, Essene, and Zadok, they use their wave sheaf as the Shabbat outside the Passover week. So their wave sheaf or first fruits would land on April 11th. Okay, we did a whole bunch of studies on that in Joshua Sickle. Okay, they do it outside the Passover festival, but wave sheaf has to be inside, and Joshua is the one that shows us beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay, so if you need any review, go look at the Joshua studies, even the very first one that's just simple. And do remember, wave sheaf is not a Shabbat. It's not considered a feast Sabbath. It's just a festival. Wave sheaf or first fruits. It's just a festival. So do we have everybody in agreement with April the 4th as Wave Sheaf Festival? Is there any questions about this before we go on?
The 4th.
And you might want to leave your videos open.
The 4th is the
Brenda?
first day of, I'm sorry, the 4th is the first day of unleavened bread as well as Wave Sheaf next year.
Yes, exactly. And Brenda,
Yes.
I didn't put that in here because I didn't want to get too confusing, but Brenda, which festival takes priority when unleavened bread and wave sheaf fall on the same date? Which one
Wave
takes
sheaf.
priority?
Wave Sheaf.
Why?
Because that's the resurrection of our Messiah, and that's the day that he did ascend.
No.
Okay, all right.
No, that's not.
Because
That's not resurrection.
Okay, you're right. The wave sheaf takes precedent because that's the day that our Messiah waved to Yahuwah, representing the body. And that's the best way I can explain it right now.
Okay, is there anybody else that can add to it? She's in the right direction. Is there anybody else that can add to why wave sheaf takes precedence over unleavened bread? Anybody remember the Joshua studies? If I have to ask Tim, I will.
Or it has to do with the first fruits, being able to eat the first fruits during unleavened bread, I think. That's what's coming back.
The first fruits, yes.
Yeah.
First fruits of the
That's right.
resurrection. Yes.
Right.
And we can also
Right.
say we have to
They-
take
they
it back
could-
to Torah before even Yahusha's example. It has to be in Torah
Right.
first, and then Yahusha is fulfilling the Torah portion.
Yeah, he had to be first fruits for us.
Yeah. So Jeanette,
I was about to say.
Jeanette, can you expand on that a little bit more? And
in what
then
way?
Joyce, I don't know. You guys figure it out.
What did you want more? I'm
They
just
could
thinking,
not. Oh, okay. Wave sheaf has to be cut, right? Wave sheaf has to be cut so it can be waved, right?
Mhm.
But it's Feast of Unleavened Bread. But they were what? Not allowed to touch the grain to make their unleavened bread before the wave sheaf was cut and given. The wave sheaf had to be done first, right? They were not allowed to touch the grain of the land until the wave sheaf that little exercise was done. Remember, because they could use the grain for their unleavened bread, but not until the wave sheaf was cut and waved to represent Yahusha's ascension. Right, Jeanette? Okay. Joyce, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was about to say the first fruit, as far as I know, I'm very young in all of this, but what I want to say, it's because the first fruit belongs to Yah. So that's the reason why it have to be present first. And then afterwards, you can use them.
And it was like giving thanks
That's
to
right.
Yah for all the provision, getting them through 40 years. And now this is the very first thing they had to do when they came into the new land, was give thanks to Yah for now the new land is going to, you know, they can now use the resources of the new land as well, which the crops were all
Yes.
there waiting for them.
Charlene?
Yes. Yes.
Charlene? I'd like to read a verse from Leviticus 23, verse 14. This gives the priority. And you do not eat bread or roasted grain or fresh grain until the same day that you have brought an offering to your Elohim, a law forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. They were not allowed to even touch the grain, as in eating it or consuming it, until this wave sheaf had been performed first. So that gives us a priority. The wave sheaf is the top priority on that very day. And this is seen extremely clearly in Joshua. We spent many hours in Joshua trying to lay this out. So if you don't quite understand it, please go over those studies. It lays it out very clearly.
What was the verse?
Yes.
Leviticus 23, verse 14.
Yes. And the thing is that I love this wave sheaf study. It's like so goosebumpy. And we also discovered that, guess what? They had been in the wilderness for 40 years without having these grains. They had manna, and yes, you know, they mumbled and grumbled about that. But they, you know, everybody loves bread. I don't know too many people that don't like bread. You know, wheat, barley, you name it. We all love it. And they had waited 40 years, and they were given a command, don't you even think about touching it. No way, you are not going to touch that until it's first given to me. And then you can go have all that you want. So there was probably a pretty big temptation there. Oh, just a little tiny bit. No, you have to wait. So this isn't supposed to be a teaching on wave sheaf, but this is important. We can come back to slide 10 in our discussion if anybody wants to. So let's go to slide number 11, because we're going to be counting a little bit higher than 7 and 8. We next need to count out our months 2 and 3. Now, the months all have 30 days each. There's not some that have 31, and some have 29 or whatever. They're all 30 days each. So remember, the first day of your month was the 21st of March. Okay, so that's day number 1. Now you need to count out 30 days to get to the first day of the second month. And we have to count out these months so that we can count out Pentecost, which is going to be a 50-day count from the wave sheaf or first fruits. So I'll just leave you a little bit of time here to do your counting.
Hey, Charlene?
Yes.
Yeah, when I used to do the calendars, every time I start a new month, then it often would have the, you know, if it was the 11th, then it was the 21st day, the 12th day was the 22nd, but I'm noticing it's not like that this year. I mean, for 2021.
Yeah, Vivian, with you building the calendars, you're probably a couple steps ahead of most people. And so things do change. We had a leap year. Remember this last year this year in 2020, we had a leap year. So it'll be different this year because there's no leap year day in February. It's only 28 days instead of 29.
So then the 19th is the 30th day of Yah's calendar?
Yes, that's April 19th. That's what I had. So the first day of the second month, I have it marked as April 20th. Is that what everybody's coming up with? April 20th as the
Yes.
first day of the second month. Okay, so now we need to count out for the third month. Start with April 20th as day number 1 and count out 30 days, and then the next day will be the first day of the third month. And you can do this, it's an easy way. If I don't mix you up, I know how to count by sevens. So the 20th is day 1, the 27th is 8, 1, 8 is 1, 8, 15, 22, 29. Okay, it's like a lunar Sabbath count. So the first on the 20th, the 27th is the 8th, the 4th would be the 15th, the 11th would be the 22nd, the 18th is the 29th. Then you do 2 more days, 19 and 30. I have May the 21st, I think, or am I not seeing this right? 1, 8, 15,
I have the 20th.
Sure,
20th.
yeah.
Yeah.
I counted the 20th
Yes, that's
as the last day of the first month. I counted
no.
April 20th. No, it's not the last
No.
day.
No,
Okay.
20th is the first day of the third month.
All right, the 3rd of April is the 14th day. Right?
Hmm.
April 3rd is the 14th day.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Then you add, that's 14, and you add 2 more weeks. 14 and 14 is 28. The 19th and the 20th, that's 29 and 30. I got the 20th of April as the last day. I mean, that's the 30th day of the month. So
No,
did I
No,
count
the
wrong?
20th of April.
No.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. You have to start with March 21 as the first day of the first month. And I would do that rather than starting with Passover. That would be easier.
Okay, let me go back.
So Sunday, March 21 is Sunday. So if you go 4 weeks, you're going to land onto another Sunday, and then you still have to get to your 30th count. So the 18th is the 29th, the 19th of April is the 30th, and then the 20th of April is the first day of the second month. That's what I have.
Excellent.
Okay, part of my calendar day was missing off the screen. I'm not looking at a printout. I'm looking at my screen. Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
So
Thank you.
Brenda, can you get to the? Okay, can you see the screen well enough to count out to the third month?
Yeah, I've adjusted it. I'm looking at it on my. Anyway, it's electronic and it moved, it shifted. So I see what you're doing. I got it. I've got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And that's why it's so important to have a pencil and paper for this. You know, we've emphasized that, for 3 years. Get your pencil and your paper out, right? It does make a difference. So this is how we learn. Okay, if everybody's in agreement that we've got the first day of the third month is on what date of the Roman calendar? Somebody tell me.
May the 20th.
I have the 21st.
No, Stacy, we're counting out the first day of the third month. We're not going to Pentecost. Okay? You're a little ahead.
I got May the 20th.
We need everybody. May the 20th. Okay, we're getting May the 20th. Is there anybody that's not understanding May the 20th as the first day of the third month?
And
Bob and Barbara, Brad and Amy, how are you doing?
The second month. I counted from 4/20 as the first day, and I counted 30 days. 30 days from that. 30 days from that came to 5/20 when I counted it out, with 5/21 being the first day of the third month. I may be off though. I'm going to count it again.
Okay, Stacy, let's do this together. April 20th. I don't know if you can see the screen or not. I have my cursor there. I don't know if you can see it. But April the 20th is the first day of the second month.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to the 27th, that's 8 days. That's your 8th day.
I'm using my phone and counting it. So 20.
That's the problem. You need a pencil and paper. That's the problem right there.
I'm counting, but I counted like each day. It's big enough that I can count each day, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I did it twice, and I keep coming to the same thing. Let me do it again.
Stacy,
Okay,
what you're probably doing is
Okay.
you're starting to count after the 20th. The
Well,
20th
I
is the first
didn't. I
day.
started on the 20th, so my
Okay.
counting must be off. 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, the 19th. I counted wrong. 30, the 19th. So the
Charlene,
20th is the first day of
Charlene,
the third month.
Charlene, this is absolutely terrific because this justifies when we tell people that you and I had to learn how to count. This shows us that we went through this same problem over and over and over and over.
And guess what? It wasn't counting 1 to 30. It was counting 1 to 3.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when you do
I'll never
twice,
forget
and
that
you
day.
count it wrong both times.
Oh dear. Is everybody okay with May the 20th as the first day of the third month? Because you've got to have these months marked out so we can find the 7th month. But before we do the 7th, okay, we're gonna go to Pentecost after this. So, okay, I'm just gonna trust that everybody's got May the 20th as the first day of the third month. Mark it so you know this is the third month.
The third month or
Okay, we're
second
going on
month?
to, what?
The third month or second month? Oh,
May the 20th is the first day of the third month on the covenant calendar. Okay, we are ready to go to Shavuot. Now, we're going to backtrack a little bit. Shavuot is a 50-day count from wave sheaf to Shavuot, 50-day count. So now you need to remember where you had the wave sheaf. What day was it? April 4th. And we need to count 7 weeks of 7 days starting from April 4th. 7 weeks times 7 days is 49 days. And then the next day will be the 50th day. And it will be in the third month. It's pretty easy to count.
23rd of May.
That's what I have. Is everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Stacy made it. I saw Stacy said yes. Dolores, how are you doing?
I didn't get it.
I got it. 50 days is
Okay. Vivian.
Help.
the 20th.
A very simple way is go to April the 4th, mark a 1 beside April the 4th, beside the 11th, mark 2, beside the 18th, mark 3, beside the 25th, mark 4, and beside May 2nd, mark 5, beside May 9, mark 6, beside May 16, mark 7. Those are your 7 full and completed weeks. So that 7th completed week ends on the 22nd. And what is the next day? When is Shavuot?
The 23rd.
It's the day after the 7th day Sabbath, the 50th day.
The 23rd.
Wave sheaf is day 1?
Wave sheaf?
23rd. 7 full weeks from, 7 full weeks from April 4th. That whole first week of April 4th is week number 1. Actually, Tim, I would have the number 1 following April 10th. That's 1 full week. April 17th is 2 full weeks. April 24th is 3 full weeks, so on, until you get to the 7 full weeks of May 22nd is the 7 full and completed weeks, 49 days, and then the next day is the 50th day, May the 23rd.
So, the 4th is the wave sheaf and day 1?
Yes, that's the start of the
Day
first.
1 of the Omer.
Yes,
Of the camp. Okay.
that's the start of the first week,
Of
the
the
first
Omer.
completed week.
It's called the Omer count. It's the first day of the Omer count. We count 50 days of the Omer.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask Rory and Linda, because I know Linda's just learning. Linda, how are you doing with all of this? If she's there.
Yeah, I'm here. I got the first one right. You know, I have to sit down and try and figure it out. Like it sounds to me like you just count them off, right? Starting with the spring equinox, if you know that, when that is. Pretty simple. Like I'm not trying to undo anything else, right? Any other calendars in my head? To me, it's just simple. You just count them off. If you know when the spring equinox is.
You're right, Linda. It is quite simple.
You know, like like Rory's been doing it on the paper, right? And I just said, well, the wave sheaf is the day after. It's the 4th. So I don't know if I've got it or not. Like when I'm listening to you guys talk, it seems complicated, but to me, when I just count it out, it's not. So.
You're right, Linda.
But
when
you'd
you
have to
remove
put me
other
down.
calendars, it's very simple just to count it out. You're right on the money.
But we only got one calendar. So that answer your question?
Yeah, you know, there's some people that, oh, you can't hear me?
No, now I can hear you. Sorry. We got the 2 computers going again.
It's probably my,
no, I have.
Oh, I see. It could be my.
One of the not on the calendar.
Did you understand what I said?
That's exciting.
Yeah.
You know, with me, my
Okay, I think we're ready to go.
What's going on?
I don't know if we got internet problems or what. Can people hear me or not?
Yes, we can hear you just fine, Charlene.
I can hear you very well.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to, okay. I'm going to slide 13. So now we're going to count out months 4, 5, 6, and 7. They're 30 days each. If you can see my cursor on the slide, May the 20th is the first day of the 3rd month. So from May the 20th, you count number 1 on this day. This is day number 1, May the 20th. I need you to count out months 4, 5, 6, and 7. So when someone has counted out up to month 4, give me a date. And we'll try to just move this along.
May the 20th? 19th? I mean, June the 20th.
June the 20th. Count one more time.
Okay.
June 19th.
June 19th. June 19th.
June 19th is what?
June 19th, fourth
First
month,
day
first day
of-
of the 4th month. Right?
I have that as well. Is everybody in agreement with June 19th as the first day of the 4th month? Okay, count out to your 5th month. The 19th is day number 1.
July 19th.
Okay, whoever said July 19th, I don't know who said it, but that's what I have. Is everybody in agreement with June 19th?
Yes.
19, yes.
Okay, June 19th. Okay, that's day number 1. Let's count out to the first day of the 6th month into August.
August 18th.
I have that too.
Deanna, is that? Okay, wow, you're getting good. That's what I have. Is everybody in agreement? Is there some that are feeling they have a different count?
Could you just wait a little bit, please?
You said the 18th of the first month?
Yep.
First one.
We're waiting.
Okay.
The 18th of August should be the first day of month number 6. Make sure you have a number 6 there somehow. Kim, are you doing okay?
Yes, I'm doing good. Thank you.
All right.
I'm still back at June the 19th.
Okay. I'm just waiting for Vivian to catch up. She's June 19th. And everybody, I sent her a very big calendar, so she should be able to see. Yes, Kim.
I've got a bigger one. It's not that, it's the brain.
Or Deanna.
Can I give a hint to everyone on this? If a month,
You sure can.
Our normal calendar that the Roman calendar that we're using every day, if the month has 31 days, then you know that you have to back up way from the start of the previous month.
She's got it.
Start of the 3rd month. There's 31 days total in May, so that means you have to back up 1 day for the next month in June. So that would be the 19th.
Yeah, and that's right, Deanna, but not everybody has the math skills to do that. So trying to keep it simple. Some of us have to just count 1, 2, 3. I don't do that. I just go 1, 8, 15, 20, get to 29, and I count the 30th day and then the next day. But everybody has a different way. But I do it the quick way. But not everybody can count 1, 8, 15, 22, 29. By the way, the lunar Sabbath people, they do this count all the time to find their lunar Sabbaths. They count 1, 8, 15, 22, 29 all the time. That's all you have to learn how to do. And you get to 29, the next day is 30, and then the next day is day number 1. So it's really easy that way. But it's a challenge. Vivian, are you caught up? Okay, let's go back to June 19th. If you can see my cursor right here on June the 19th, it's Shabbat. I hope you can all see that. That would be day 1. When you get to the 26th, it's day 8. 1, 8, and then July 3rd would be 15th day. The 10th is the 22nd day. The 17th is the 29th day. Then the 18th is the 30th, and the 19th is the first day. Just count by the week. 1, 8, 15, 22, 29. Then you add 30, and then you're at the first day. It's not hard. How are you doing, Vivian?
It's simple as pie. Vivian.
Never mind, quiet. Okay.
Sorry, dear.
I know that.
You guys weren't sorry last year either, so let's just pause a little bit here,
Oh,
okay?
come on, Segula.
Okay, so the 19th of,
Vivian doesn't have me beside her this year.
so
I know that
July the 19th is the first day of the 5th month, right?
First day of the
Yes,
fifth month.
yes, Vivian, that's right.
Right.
So then underneath that, on the 26th day, you're going to write 8, correct?
Yes, that's right.
8. And then on the 2nd of August, you're going to write 15.
Right.
And then you're going to write 22 on the 9th day, and 29 on the 16th day, and then the 30th is the 17th. And so the 18th of August is the first day of the 6th month.
Wow. Hallelujah.
Right.
Kathleen,
Vivian.
Kathleen,
That's really the easy way to do it, everybody.
Kathleen, I'm not answering your phone
Okay,
calls anymore.
I just want to add something.
Hey, you taught me something too.
I just want to add something.
Andrea?
Where I was getting confused, not confused, but I was coming to the wrong number for my day 1 because I was continually counting to 30 and then I was forgetting to advance 1. So now I just have it in my mindset to count 31 and then I'm there and then it's done.
Whoever thought counting could be so hard, right?
Each of us
Day
have
number
our
1
own-
follows day number 30. Okay, so count.
Each of us have our own way of counting. Whatever works for you, do it.
Okay, count up to month number 7. We need to get to month 7.
17th of
17th.
September 17th.
Okay. That is what I have. September the 17th is the first day of the 7th month. Can I go to slide number 14? Is everybody ready for slide 14? Okay. We're ready to do the fall feasts. Feast of Trumpets. Feast of Trumpets is a Shabbat, and it's on the first day of the 7th month, and you've already figured that out. The first day of the 7th month is September 17th. That is Trumpets right there.
Oh, Feast of
And now,
Trumpets.
Friday, September 17th. That's Trumpets. That's the first day. The festival is 10 days long. And the 10th day is Yom Kippur. So mark out September 17th as the first day of the 7th month. And then on the next slide, we'll do Yom Kippur. This is the easier part.
October 17th.
Is anybody going to help Catherine out with her counting?
9/26. 9/26.
Yom Kippur.
Yes, 26.
Okay, so let's go to slide 15 because this is Yom Kippur homework. The 10th day of the 7th month is Yom Kippur. It's the most Kodesh solemn Shabbat of the year. Okay, so that is going to be Sunday, September 26th.
Do we count that day?
Which day?
Do we count the Day of Atonement to start our 5-day count for Tabernacles?
No,
Absolutely.
I don't like to do it that way. I just like you to use it as day 10 because Tabernacles is day 15. So don't count Yom Kippur as day 1. Stay as day 10, because Tabernacles is the 15th day. We're doing that on the next slide.
Thank you.
Okay? You can get mixed up if you do that. So when everybody's done with marking Day of Atonement, we'll go to slide 16.
Sorry, Charlene. Did you say the 26th?
Yes, that's what we're coming to. If the 17th of September is the first day of the 7th month, I'll just count it here with my cursor. 17 is number 1, 18 is number 2, 19, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is on the 26th of September, Yom Kippur. Shalom?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I
Now, remember with Day of Atonement. Oh, yes, Shallow, go ahead.
No, sorry, there's a delay in my transmission. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so now we need to remember that with Day of Atonement or Yom Kippur, there's a command to afflict one's soul. When does that begin? When does the affliction begin?
Twilight.
Sunset.
Day before.
On the 9th.
What's the date?
25th of September,
25th.
which is a Shabbat. And so at twilight on September 25th, that twilight, Erev, begins the affliction for the 10th day. So we'll want to be mindful of having things prepared and ready, since the 9th day is a Shabbat and the 10th day on Yom Kippur is also a no-work day. So that actually means that Friday on the 24th is a great preparation day. Well, it is for our Shabbat, and then if we would want anything to break our affliction of someone, if we fast, then you would make sure you're prepared.
Absolutely, Kim. That's very well done.
Excellent.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is it figured out that it is a fast of food, or is it, have we figured that out yet?
See this. That's not up for discussion on this calendar. We can do that after we get done, okay, April?
Sure.
But we're just trying to mark out the days right now, okay? So what the affliction is, we'll just leave that till later. So you bring that up when we're done. We're just about done. Okay, let's go to slide 16, Feast of Tabernacles. This is the 15th day of the 7th month. So
October
Atonement
1st.
was the 10th day. Oh boy, everybody's getting quick now. That was Ermi. October 1. Is everybody in agreement with October 1 being the first day of the Feast of Sukkot? It's a Sabbath. It's a feast Shabbat.
Yes.
Okay. We're just about done. Now we need to count out days 15 to 21. The 1st of October is the 15th, and this feast is 7 days. And then there's the last great day. We'll do that on the next slide. So just count out to day 21. Mark out your 7 days of Feast of Sukkot. And where is the 7th day of Feast of Sukkot? What is the date?
The first.
October the 7th.
Does anybody agree with Vivian, the 7th?
Yes.
That's easy.
Thank you.
Okay. That's the easiest one of all. It starts on a number 1 and it ends on number 7. You should all get that right. No problem. Okay. The last great day. The last great day of the feast is on the 22nd day of the 7th month. So we were on the 21st day. October 7th was the 21st day. So this is the last one. It's the easiest one of all. Vivian, what is the last great day?
Kathleen, she asked me.
You didn't hear me. I thought I did it quietly.
No, no, darling, you're not quiet. Okay, it's on the 8th.
The 8th. Right here, October 8th. And you now have finished the calendar. The 2020 calendar is all now counted out. You all did it. But remember, if there's any adjustments to these dates, we will make them next year when we figure out exactly the day of Tekufa in case the internet was wrong. So if there's any questions, there's the website down there that will reach Tim or myself. And don't forget, everyone, this is Yah's Covenant Calendar. Just want to thank you all for working so hard.
That was fun, Charlene. Thank you.